This machine represents something I've wanted to do for a very long time. Not just make better coffee, but actually understand coffee. For years, coffee has been part of my daily routine. Most mornings, I'd make a quick cup of instant coffee, get on with my day, and never really think much about it. But the more I learned about coffee, the more curious I became. I started reading about coffee beans, different brewing methods, espresso, milk texturing, specialty coffee shops, and before I knew it, I had fallen down the coffee rabbit hole. And that's what eventually led me here to this machine. My very first real coffee machine. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I was excited when it arrived. But I was also terrified because unlike instant coffee, where you just add hot water and you're done, this thing has grinders, settings, buttons, cleaning cycles, and parts that honestly looked intimidating the first time I saw them. The first day I unpacked it, I just stared at it for a few minutes. I remember thinking, what have I gotten myself into? But that's exactly what this channel is about. I'm not a barista. I'm not a coffee expert. I'm simply a coffee hobbyist, learning one cup at a time. So if you're new to coffee machines, like I am, you're in the right place. Today I want to share my first impressions of the De'Longhi Magnifica S start, my first experiences using it, the mistakes I made, and whether I think it's actually beginner friendly. Let's get started. So why did I choose the De'Longhi Magnifica S start? The short answer is I wanted something that could grow with me. When I first started researching coffee machines, I quickly realized there are a lot of options. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. There are capsule machines, manual espresso machines, semi-automatic machines, fully automatic machines, machines that cost a few $100s, machines that cost more than a used car. As a beginner, it was honestly overwhelming. My goal wasn't to become a professional barista overnight. I simply wanted a machine that could help me make better coffee at home while teaching me more about the coffee making process. There were a few things on my wish list. First, I wanted freshly ground coffee. The more I researched coffee, the more I learned how important fresh grinding is. Everyone kept saying the same thing. Freshly ground beans make a huge difference. Second, I wanted convenience. I didn't want to spend 20 minutes every morning weighing beans, adjusting equipment, and watching YouTube tutorials just to make one cup of coffee before work. And third, I wanted consistency. If I made a great cup today, I wanted a good chance of making another great cup tomorrow. The Magnifica S seemed to check all those boxes. Built-in grinder, automatic brewing, steam mount for milk drinks, and a reputation for being beginner friendly. But even after deciding on the machine, I still hesitated. For weeks, I kept asking myself, what if I buy it and never use it? What if it's too complicated? What if I spend all this money and still make terrible coffee? I'm sure some of you watching have had those same thoughts. Eventually, curiosity won. I placed the order, and when the delivery finally arrived, I felt like a kid on Christmas morning. Excited, curious, and slightly nervous. Because this wasn't just buying another kitchen appliance. This felt like the beginning of a new hobby. Alright, the moment of truth. After all the setup, all the reading, all the button pressing and second guessing myself, it was finally time to taste the coffee. And I have to admit, I was nervous because expectations can be dangerous. But when you have spent weeks researching a machine, watching reviews, and imagining how great the coffee will be, there's always the possibility that reality won't live up to the hype. So I picked up the cup, took a moment to appreciate the aroma, and then I took my first sip. My first reaction wasn't dramatic. I didn't suddenly become a coffee expert. I didn't hear angels singing. But immediately I noticed something different. The coffee felt alive. That's the best way I can describe it. Compared to instant coffee, there were layers of flavor that I wasn't used to experiencing. The aroma was stronger. I could taste things I normally wouldn't notice. Not because I suddenly had an advanced palate, but because the coffee itself felt more expressive. The crema on top was another surprise. For years I had seen photos of espresso with that golden layer on top. Now I was finally drinking it myself. And while I still have a lot to learn about espresso, I understood why people appreciate it. The overall experience felt intentional. It wasn't just caffeine. It felt like a beverage that someone had crafted. Even though my technique wasn't perfect, even though I was still learning, the machine managed to produce a cup that made me stop and pay attention. And honestly, that's what impressed me most. Not that it made the best coffee in the world, but that it made me excited to make another cup, and another, and another. Because every coffee felt like an opportunity to learn something new. After spending some time with the machine, I've already learned a few lessons that I wish someone had told me on day one. First, don't expect perfection immediately. I think a lot of beginners assume they'll buy a coffee machine and instantly start producing cafe quality drinks. That wasn't my experience. And honestly, that's okay. Part of the fun is learning. Every cup teaches you something. Second, pay attention to cleaning. Seriously. This sounds boring, but it's probably the most important lesson I've learned. Clean the steam on immediately after using it. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later. You will not appreciate that decision. Trust me, a few seconds of cleaning now can save a lot of frustration later. Third, experiment slowly. When I first got the machine, I wanted to change every setting at once. Different grinder settings, different coffee strengths, different drink sizes, different heat intensity. But when you change everything simultaneously, it's hard to know what actually improves the coffee. Make one adjustment at a time. Be patient. Learn what each setting does. Fourth, use coffee beans you actually enjoy. The machine matters, but the beans matter too. Even as a beginner, I've noticed that different beans can completely change the experience. And finally, don't be intimidated. I know there are people watching this who are considering their first coffee machine and feeling exactly the way I felt. Maybe you're worried it'll be too complicated. Maybe you're worried you'll waste money. Maybe you're worried you'll make mistakes. You probably will make mistakes. I certainly did. But that's part of the process. Coffee is a hobby. And hobbies are supposed to be enjoyable. You don't need to know everything on day one. You just need curiosity and a willingness to learn.
Looking back, it's funny how nervous I was to use this machine. A few weeks ago, it felt complicated and intimidating. Today, it feels like part of my daily routine. Has it completely transformed my life? No. Has it changed how I think about coffee? Absolutely. For the first time, I feel connected to the process instead of the end result. I'm paying attention to beans, to aromas, to brewing, to all the little details that I used to ignore. And that's probably the biggest surprise of all. This machine didn't just make better coffee, it made coffee more interesting. Now, I'm still very much a beginner. I still have a lot to learn, and that's exactly why I'm documenting this journey on The Coffee Hobbyist. In the next video, I'll be sharing the things I wish I knew before purchasing the De'Longhi Magnifica S, including a few surprises that no review mentioned. So if you're considering this machine or starting your own coffee journey, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for spending a few minutes talking coffee with me. And until next time, stay caffeinated and stay curious.